Hi lovelies and welcome to the Witch's Cookery. Today we're speaking about how to be a witch in the city. A while back I made a video called how to know what kind of witch you are, and I mentioned the urban witch or city witchcraft, and many of you were interested in seeing how to be a witch in a city or how to practice witchcraft without nature around. So today we will go over obstacles you might encounter when practicing witchcraft in the city. We will look into specific spells and rituals for any city dweller. We will also discuss how a urban witchy lifestyle can look like and what advantages you actually have in your witchcraft practice when you live in a city. If you want to picture how the traditional typical witch lives like or what your dream witch home might be, you probably are thinking about a secluded place in nature, maybe a little cottage, a couple of animals and a lovely little herb garden where you can do all your witching and worshipping and dancing sky-clad around a bonfire. But statistically, most of you are probably living in a city, maybe in a little apartment, maybe you only have a room, maybe you even share that. So it's definitely a little bit far from most people's reality. Actually, on that note, I would really be interested in knowing where you guys are from. Do you live in the countryside, in the city? Maybe you can also share your favorite magical place or spot with us. I know I have that baking theme again, but I'm sitting outside in 110-degree weather without air conditioning, without fan, and it's hot. Moving on. What was I? Now, when it comes to being a witch in the city, obviously there are a couple of hurdles and a couple of obstacles that you might not have if you live with more space or in a rural area. Privacy. If you live in an apartment complex or in shared flats, you have to obey two house rules. And obviously you also have to make sure you don't really annoy your neighbors. Things like burning sage bundles or lighting a fire in your backyard are very hard to do. If you're into doing rituals au naturel, you might also be contained to your own four walls. Of course, if you have a cute neighbor, then can also do it on the balcony. Probably you won't just have as easy an access to nature or that same type of feeling and bond with nature. If you look outside and you see a big street and no real greenery around, that can feel somehow removed, especially if you're celebrating the pagan holidays that are all based around seasonal, rural festivities. You might think that things like growing your own herbs or foraging might be out of the question if you are an urban witch, which actually is not true, but we'll get to that later on. But of course you can also focus on witchcraft practices that are not so focused on the rural year and on nature. One example would be divination. Next to all the well-known typical methods of divination, you can also utilize the city for that. Pretty sure you probably also have a ton of pigeons where you live. Sitting out at a little plaza and looking into the sky, you can do some bird scrying. Or if you're walking, you have some question on your mind and you want to answer, or like a moment for self-reflection, keep your eyes open. Look out for like graffiti. You can do graffiti divination or poster divination. You can find answers there. And speaking about finding things in the city, one man's trash is another man's treasure. A lot of people just put stuff outside on the street that they don't want anymore or next to a trash container. So really keep your eyes open and see. Maybe you find some cool candle holders or like a cupboard that you can upcycle into your herb or crystal cabinet. Other witchcraft practices that you can do solely in your house, for example, would be cottage witchcraft and kitchen witchcraft. If you're really into astrology and stuff like that, maybe you can find an observatory, and they sometimes have like these starry gazing nights or moon gazing nights. So that's something really cool maybe to do for a full moon. The city is also actually an amazing place to learn to sense energy and to work with energy, because obviously it's much more hectic. There are many people in one spot. It's very concentrated and there are many different emotions. So if you want to kind of practice your empath abilities a little bit more, fine-tune them and see how you can work with that, sit in a cafe and just try and feel how the energy that people around you give off are working on your own emotions, on your own mood. And that can also help you in protecting your own energy to see if you need to work on your shielding or on protection spells. You can better understand and learn how you feel in a correlation to the world around you. Or maybe you can also thrive on that busy and hectic energy and actually implement it in your spell work. And that's my next point. Utilizing city energy in your witchcraft, in your spells. Every time I did bigger spell work, I love to raise my vibrations in a sense of hyping myself up on energy. So what I really enjoyed was to go to bigger clubs, dance there, and like feel all this happy, busy energy and the loud music, and then use that gathered energy to fuel my spell work. And there are many other ways to do that too. For example, when walking in a big crowd of people, or when you're in public transport and you have that movement, that energy, that speed, that can also help you in a way to excel your spells if you work with that in your manifestation. So chances are, if you're a city witch, you actually have to deal with a lot of commute on a daily basis. Pepper, stop walking, you're walking too loud. Sit, sit, Pepper, sit, chill. Lay, it's too hot for walking, what are you doing? Lay, Pepper, lay. Good boy. He thinks he gets a treat. No, I don't have a treat. Pepper, sorry. Okay, Pepper, you have to go inside because my camera will die in a second, okay? Please, Pepper. Abflug. Hop. Where's the Louis? Search, search, search. Where's the Louis? You probably spend a lot of time in public transport, basically doing nothing or trying to avoid other people's armpit sweat. So why not use that time for a little bit of witchcraft, 5 minutes in the morning in a metro for some intention setting, or maybe do a little mini meditation. You can just close your eyes and practice visualization while you're waiting for the bus. If you feel a lot of hectic energy around you, you can practice your shielding, your warding, and in general visualizing protection bubbles. Even do some grounding and centering if you just had a very long and stressful day. Use the time stuck in public transport for those kind of primers. Put yourself into a calmer, nicer, more organized mood again. If you're someone that takes inspiration from spell books, I suggest you find a tranquil, secluded, magical spot near the tiny trickling little river. Yeah, you might have a river in your city, but maybe it's muddy and, you know, themed with empty beer bottles. At least that's what rivers look like here in Germany in cities. If that is now a park, or if it's just a tiny square of greenery with maybe one tree, container gardens that people might have on their balconies. So these are all places that you can visit on a regular level to observe them, to really feel the change of the seasons. You can do earthing there, do a picnic in the park, and you're not wearing shoes. You're basically just standing there looking around. You can do your little grounding exercises and no one will know. Another option to connect with Mother Nature as a city witch is obviously to have plants. House plants that you take care of, that's all like natural energies, natural life force. Plus additionally, potted containers with soil in it can also be a great tool for you to use if you're working elemental magic or a spell requires you to bury something. Pot and earth will do it just fine. You don't have to go outside and find that magic spot. There are a bunch of herbs that will actually grow inside or on a windowsill, and you can then still use them for your kitchen witchery or for your green witch spells, and it can really add something to your witchcraft practice to help grow something, produce the equipment that you also use in your magic. And we shall not forget about wild foraging. You can do it in the city too. Now, depending on the level of pollution in your city or how close a street is to where you found a certain plant, I would not recommend it for consumption. So if you're looking into kitchen witchery, I would rather buy the things. But if you just want them for spells, for burning, putting in spell bottles, you can definitely forage in the city. And some might now say, no, the hectic energy of the city might pollute the plants or whatever. I feel that really depends on how you interpret city energy. If I see like a concrete pavement, but there's this one strong little dandelion or other plant that's breaking through there, for me that is such a strong plant energy right there, like so perseverant and so strong, I would totally work with that. So keep your eyes open. A ton of plants and a ton of magical plants that are commonly used in spells actually grow in cities too. An awesome place to go to, especially if you're a green witch, if you're into herbalism, is the botanical garden. Again, there you can observe nature. You will also learn a ton about plants, and a lot of times those places also will offer courses on herbalism, how to forage, how to make something out of herbs, self-crafting or DIY cottage witchcraft. That's definitely an amazing place to check out. No. Sun moved. Sorry, had to go inside and stand in the door of the fridge for a second. No, my battery died from heat exhaustion, but we're back. Hello. Now, while we are with nature and with the elements, let's speak about that point real quick. So if you're following a spell book and that calls for a flowing body of water, light a bonfire, you might need to adjust that a little bit for your witchcraft practice in the city. But I'm pretty certain that if you look a little bit around, you might be able to find a little fountain. Just turn on your faucet. I mean, that's also flowing water. It doesn't have to be that ethereal little lake in the mists of the morning. If you cannot light a bonfire, just take a candle. If you have to bury something in earth, take a little pot. Don't bury things in parts, it's littering. Please don't. The point here is, it's not the location, it's your intent, and it's all in your heart and in your mind. Work with what is available to you. And speaking about those enchanting little places, you can find a ton of them in the city. And it might look different to my favorite field where I like to watch the sunrise, but it might be this cute little corner in your favorite coffee shop where no one ever really sits in, but it's just so cozy and has that vibe about it, and you can just go there and do maybe some manifestation scripting and do a very discreet little tarot card pull. Or if you live in an older city, it might be historical places that actually have some kind of meaning. Something maybe happened there, you can sense a certain energy from it, or the history behind it just matches very well with your intentions or with your witchcraft. Personally, I also really love to visit sanctuaries, city monasteries, little churches and chapels. I don't really mind the religious affiliation with it. I just really enjoy the feeling there, the calmness. Like sometimes if you walk into a little church and you close the door behind you, you can drown out the city completely. You won't hear anything. It's just this like good smelling, calm, cool place. Oh God, how I wish I could be in a church right now. Some people are also very drawn to graveyards because they also kind of radiate that tranquility and peace. So if that's not too morbid for you, that might also be a great magical place and sanctuary. It can also just be a little bench in your favorite street or your favorite street corner, a tall tree in the park. Whatever calls out to you can be made into your special magic sanctuary. But if you're someone that doesn't really feel the city's energy, you feel more comfortable practicing in your own four walls, obviously don't forget about making your own home your magic little witch's cottage. And you can also work with a lot of things here to make it a bit more natural by bringing plants in, by working with a specific lighting that can emulate the sun or the moonlight. You can even have those little lamps that make like a fake star sky. You can play calming nature sounds. You can just transport yourself with the power of your mind into a different environment, a little bit more of a natural environment. If you're craving that tranquility, there's so many options out there that you have, from like wall fountains to noise cancelling headphones, or just creating a seasonal altar there. And utilize public spaces like parks or libraries and stuff like that for your practice as well. You don't have to practice very visible for other people. There are many ways to do it very discreet. People cannot look into your head. You don't need so many bells and whistles for most spells. You can also just do it with pen and paper, with your mind, with your intent. If you're sometimes missing that natural connection, you can make a day, maybe the pagan holidays, very special by taking a little day trip out of the city. Go to the mountains, go to the beach, go to a natural resort, like whatever is close to your city. Just go out there, spend a day there, do a picnic, do a barbecue, go wild foraging, or just, you know, stare at some stones. Find that intimate connection with Mother Nature again. And really be a lovely reset if you're feeling drained by the hustle and bustle of city life. Now, the city also holds so many cool things for witches. Metaphysical esoteric stores where you can buy all your witchcraft supplies. Good selection of focused crystals, for example, where you can stock up your herb supplies. Just see if you find little trinkets to use in your witchcraft, maybe some new tarot decks. Personally, I'm a really big fan of shopping in store as opposed to online, because you can really first see what you get. You know, you can hold it in your hand, you can sense it, it feels right for you. On that note, not only metaphysical stores, but of course thrift shops and flea markets and all that jazz. The danger of buying a fake crystal in this kind of like stores is much less high than if you're shopping for something online. And a lot of times these stores also hold workshops and classes surrounding the topics of divination or witchcraft or spirituality. And not only there, also think of other places that might serve your specific form of witchcraft, your type of witchcraft. In the public library, adult classes where you can learn more about mindfulness and meditation, scripting, journaling, all these kinds of things that you can later on use in your witchcraft practice. Now, chances are you might also have a bigger library in a city where you can borrow witchcraft books, especially if you're on a budget or you don't want to have them laying around at home. You can go there, do your research if you don't trust TikTok or YouTube or all the online things that are out there. And another big advantage of being a witch in the city is the amount of people you have there. If there is such a mass of people, chances of having like-minded folks there is very high. And that's why in cities you can actually find a lot of cool things, from pagan festivals to workshops and courses, to get-togethers. If you just look at sites like Meetup, look for Facebook groups in your area, ask in spiritual metaphysical stores and libraries, or just Google a certain topic that you're interested in. Now, depending where you live, city energy can obviously also be very hectic and loud, and especially if you're an empath, if you're struggling with keeping other people's energy away and all those impressions, then it might be beneficial to you to practice things like shielding and grounding, centering. You can also carry a little protection spell with you. That might be a certain crystal that helps you ground. It might be a little spell sachet with herbs in it, some kind of oil that you have made that you can rub on. Maybe you put knot spells in your braided hair, you enchant jewelry, or you make a lovely little protection herbal mix for the summer month. Or it might just be through visualization. Anything really to keep you in yourself and in your own energy. Now, these are my tips and tricks for city witches. I very much hope you enjoyed them. If you have any other cool ideas or tips and tricks for your fellow witches, leave it down in the comments down below, and don't forget to tell me where you are from. I'm super curious to know. Anyway, I wish you a most magical day, and I see you very soon. Bye! Okay. Done.